Ava Robin, grieving the loss of her parents 3 years ago, decides to make a fresh start. She buys a van and becomes a popular van life influencer, sharing her adventures on the road and how she has fun along her drive. One day, she mysteriously disappears, making her followers worried and making videos guessing where she went. Ava later found parked on the side of a road by truck driver. She then recover from that incident. After a while she reappear online and explains to the public that she ran over a deer but she back now. With support from her subscribers, she earns enough money to buys a cabin in the woods, rebrand herself as Cabin Girl, and starts renovating. Grateful for her 600,000 fans, Ava records a video outside her new cabin. Meanwhile, an unknown suspicious person with Ava's photos pinned on their wall is watching her video. At night, when Ava is sleeping, we can see a hole in the ceiling. The next morning, Ava starts the day with the housework. Seems like she completely enjoy her new life. The scene that shows again the man watches videos of Ava's fans discussing her life in his van. Some express disappointment at her shift from van life to cabin life. On her video Ava confesses her love for the cabin, she feel more safe and secure here. Ava then goes to visit Kellen, who was the truck driver that saves her the time she went disappeared. Ava somewhat has feeling for him. While walking back home, she bumps into Dr. Doucette, the doctor who gave her the treatment after the deer incident. He reminds her to visit his office next week. The stranger again appears on the screen. He finds out Ava's area from one of her video. As she records another video, she hears someone calling her name. She's yelling back at it and saying that she has pepper spray. After this, Ava walks past a brig, and sees something strange under it. This triggers a flashback of the deer incident. When she walked down there she finds a memorial for Hannah Granger. Trina, a bar owner, suddenly comes out from nowhere and introduces herself, then reveals that Hannah drove herself with a cinder block. She recognizes Ava and offers to drive her back home as she nearly fainted because of the trauma of the incident. When they arrive at Ava's cabin, Trina admires the place. From her, Ava shockingly learned that the place used to belong to Hannah Granger. At night, Ava hosts a QA session with her fans, revealing her doctor's advice that she won't be able to drive for about 3 months. During the session, books mysteriously move on Ava's shelf, caught on camera. When standing up to check, she finds a mouse. Ava put it in a jar to put it elsewhere. That night, while sleeping, Ava has a strange dream. She's led into a barn and someone call out her name again. In the morning, she checks the barn and finds it's locked and nothing unusual. Meanwhile, the stranger goes to Ava's real estate agent to have the list of the house's addresses. He drives by one cabin. But it's not Ava's one. He drives away and sees Ava passes by on her bike, so he decides to follow her. Just at that moment Kellen arrives and honks at him, so he has no choice but driving away. Kellen offers Ava a ride, which she initially declines but eventually accepts after her bike tire goes flat. Meanwhile the stranger is watching from a distance. He gets the axe out of his SUV and looks toward them. When they arrive at her cabin, Ava tells Kellen about a disturbing story of a creepy guy who kept going to her fan meetings across the country. One night he broke into her van with handcuffs. At some point she had to involve to police. Ava then leave without elaborating the end of the story. Later, as Kellen installs a new lock for her barn, Ava asks him about Hannah. Kellen reveals that Hannah was an urban legend of the town, but what he didn't know was that Hannah used to live in Ava's cabin. They walk on the bridge together, with Kellen tells Ava about the rumors about Hannah being a witch. After Kellen leave, Ava notices a cow near her cabin and it again reminds her of the deer. At home Ava nearly trips over a protruding plank. She realizes the house need to be repaired. Ava then streams a video outside, mentioning Hannah's mysterious actions. Kellen and the mysterious stranger both watch Ava's live stream. Ava wonders why Hannah took her own life. At night, someone calls out to Ava in the woods, and she sees a scary-looking woman. She wakes up and does some research on Hannah. Suddenly, books fall from the shelf again. When she stands up to check, we see the scary woman appears behind her, but when Ava turns around she vanishes. The next day, the sheriff wakes her up as she fell asleep outside near the fire. He comes for her calls regarding the cow. He confirms that the neighborhood is safe and assure her, while making coffee, Ava listens to some video from her fan expressing nostalgia for her old self. They think the incident changes Ava and her mental state is not as it used to be. On the day of her checkup appointment, Ava mentions to the doctor that she is sometimes having visions, and the doctor claims them to be common hallucinations after a head injury. He advises her to get better sleep. Outside, the stranger watches her and follows as she heads to Mystic Fox Trina's bar. While Ava searches for information of Hannah online, Trina informs her that there's little to find. Trina then gives Ava a box of newspaper articles about Hannah for her to look through it. Ava discovers that Hannah has a brother named Elijah. Trina suspects Hannah may have been pushed. Ava mentions she dreamt of Hannah and Trina gifts Ava an Ouija board so she can't figure out more. As Ava walks away with it, she bumps into the man following her. Ava again streams a video talking about Hannah. This time the stranger learns Ava's exact location from the stream and follows her on his van as she rides her bicycle. Ava heads to the cemetery to find Hannah's grave, while the stranger goes to the cabin and uses the axe to break the lock on her barn, revealing her van inside. Meanwhile Ava meets Kellen and he drives her home. During the ride, Ava reveals to Kellen that she keeps seeing Hannah. The stranger inspects Ava's van, but his motives remain unknown. As Ava and Kellen return, they discover the broken lock on the barn. Kellen opened the door and look around to check, but didn't realize the stranger is hiding inside. At night, Ava and Kellen sit outside to try the Ouija board. Ava believes Hannah's spirit is trying to communicate and suggests her brother may have been a suspect. Using the Ouija board, it spells out the word guilty. Ava concludes that Hannah was murdered in the cabin. Kellen tells her to leave the place for a while but she doesn't want to do it. Ava then thanks Kellen for always being there for her and they get romantic and starts kissing. However, Ava spots someone watching them through the window and panicked. She screams and wants Kellen to go check. Kellen searches the barn but finds no one, as the stranger hides behind a tree. Kellen reminds Ava of her visions, so she might just has an illusion. He tells her to rest while he stays up watching. In the morning, Ava wakes up and notices hands crawling in the ceiling. Meanwhile Kellen works on Ava's van in the barn and some hair fall on his face out of nowhere. Ava goes to the barn and confronts Kellen, demanding to know why he's fixing her van. She yells at him to leave. Returning to her cabin, Ava steps on the protruding pad on the floor again, leading her use the axe to destroy it. Inside, she finds a hidden box and opens it. Ava then calls Trina and asks her to come over to show her the stuff she finds in the box. They lay out tarot cards to find some answer for the Hannah situation. The cards reveal Hannah was a young woman as from the princess card and the devil card indicate to Ava, which unsettles her. Trina says that the cards are symbolic. The hanged man appears, suggesting an act of atonement. Trina opens all the card and concludes that Hannah neither fell nor was pushed, and whatever Ava senses isn't from the cabin. Disliking this revelation, Ava accuses Trina of covering for those responsible for Hannah's death. She threatens Trina to leave. Ava then strikes a tarot card with the axe. Under the broken floor, she finds a note that says, "He's guilty." She then drives to the hospital to see Elijah. Hannah's brother, the nurse, informs Ava that Elijah is a vegetable. She approaches to talk to him about his sister and find out his face is totally deformed. Suddenly Elijah grabs her arm, keeps repeating the word guilty. Still doesn't get any clear disclosure from Elijah. Ava drives home and streams another video in the car, talking about everything from Elijah's repeated saying the word guilty, to the Ouija board's message. The stranger watches her stream and decides to visit her cabin. Hannah's ghost calls Ava's name, distracting her and leading to a reckless accident, and the sheriff pulls her over. Inside the cabin, the stranger finds Ava's laptop and notebook. Ava notices the sheriff's name tag is Granger, but receives no response when she asks if he's from the Granger family. Sensing something wrong, Ava leaves. Meanwhile the stranger logs into her laptop. As Ava returns with her van, she finds the stranger inside her home. The stranger calms Ava down, but she still has an unsettling visions lead her to pepper spray him and tries to hit him with the axe. Despite her attempts, the stranger escapes. Kellen spots Ava driving, catches up to her, and learns about the stalker breaking into her cabin. Ava still panics and wants to talk to the sheriff, believing he knows something important. However, Kellen, for some reason, advises against it. He reveals finding a piece of hair under her van and meeting the sheriff isn't a wise thing to do. At that moment Ava spots the stranger entering his van, and after she points him out to Kellen, he begins chasing the stalker. They pass a parked sheriff, and he also joins the chase. As the chase continues, a fallen tree blocks the van's path, and the stalker, unable to continue, stops his car and gets assaulted by Kellen. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Ava streams her thoughts, expressing her fear that the town is against her. She mentions the sheriff's connection to the Granger family. The sheriff approaches Kellen, telling him to stop beating the stranger. Kellen explains that the man is Ava's stalker, and when they open the back of his van, they find an axe and photos of Ava. The sheriff arrests the stalker, who claims Ava murdered his daughter, saying her van is the evidence. The sheriff arrives at Ava's cabin to address the situation with the stalker handcuffed in the car. But Ava doesn't respond to him. Suddenly Ava brutally attacked the sheriff with the axe. The stalker in the back seat witnesses this. Ava then goes to the room with the hole in the ceiling, seeing the ghost of Hannah looking down at her. Frightened, Ava runs out of the cabin but finds Kellen has arrived. She hugs him and tells him that Hannah ghost is trying to kill her. Inside the cabin, Kellen tries to reassure Ava, suggesting she may be hallucinating. In defense, she gives him the note found inside the floor, asking if that, too, is a hallucination. However, after finding Ava's notebook with the message, "She's guilty," Kellen connects it to the note she gave him. He finds a ripped page and using the note he forms the total sentence, "She's guilty." Not he's guilty. When Kellen looks out the window, he sees the sheriff suffering on the ground. As Kellen understands Ava is the actually murderer and tries to exit the cabin, Ava cuts his fingers. After that she runs away leaving Kellen injured. Kellen manages to get out of the cabin and frees the stranger, who uses the sheriff's radio to call for help before going after Ava. In the woods, Ava meets Hannah's ghost. Ava screams asking what she wants. The stranger catches up and answers to this question, saying that he just wants the truth. Ava thinks he wants to kill her and attempts to jump off the bridge, but the guy says he actually just wants to know if she remembers his daughter, Jackie. The narrative then shifts to the past, where Jackie, a fan of Ava, excitedly waits for Ava. Instead, Ava recklessly drives her van, accidentally slamming into Jackie. The man, Jackie's father, watches this tragic event on video. In the present, Ava insists she hit a deer, but the man reveals it was his daughter, Jackie, whom Ava accidentally killed. With the man's revelation, Ava experiences a truthful flashback. She exits her van and finds a severely injured Jackie crawling on the ground, alongside a deer. This traumatic moment damages Ava's psyche, causing her mind to fixate on the image of the deer rather than acknowledging the tragedy she caused. Coming out of the flashback, Ava screams in horror. Overwhelmed, she contemplates jumping off the bridge, but Jackie's father intervenes, saving her. In the last scene, Ava is in another room, acting like she is again recording a video for her subscribers. She insists on being called Cabin Girl. However, Ava is actually in a mental hospital. The doctor is talking about her condition with Trina, uncertain how long she will be trapped in this memory. Ava looks around her room, unable to understand her surroundings. This time the ghost of Jackie is in the room, calling Ava's name. Despite Jackie's presence, Ava smiles into the air. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.